What do we got? Oh! Hey, alright. That is the last one on the list, I think. Alright, good job, everyone. Let's get this thing moving, and we can go home. Not supposed to be any sign of the operator.
Nope.
Yeah, he's probably dead.
Wait, what?
Okay, pack it in, folks. We are done here. 8 months late. Well, that'll come down eventually. Alright, let's see. Oh, there he is. Look at him. Austere. Dignified. Made of bone. We'll have to give him back in time for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So, at time of recording, it's just been announced that 1.21.5 is going to be changing the lodestone recipe. So I've ported that forward to 121.4 because I've always thought that was kind of dumb, and now I have permission to change it effectively. But that does mean you might recall at the beginning of the season I did this. This is the dumbest thing to use this for. But I've made a lodestone. So, I'm just... But don't worry, I'm gonna keep myself honest. And that's why I wanted the hole. So what if we take out... We merge blue and aqua and replace aqua with gray.
Sure.
I think that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to transition from green into gray. There's like a whole, because it's just like grass, moss, mossy cobblestone, pale moss. And actually the zombie village being in the gray zone makes sense too.
Yeah.
So we could put warped fungus down here, maybe. Okay, hear me out. We have the speakeasy.
Yes.
Over here. No?
What would that entail?
It'd just be where he hangs out.
Just be okay.
Yeah. I think this does sort of expose the thing we're missing though.
What's that?
A place for the bell. But the question is, do we want it? I don't think we want it in the tower, right?
No.
Because then people could just wander on in.
Yeah.
This is an important building. The DC Metro does not exit through the White House.
No, it doesn't. Is the garden going to be roadside?
It could be. I think there should be a small no man's land between them, a buffer zone.
Okay.
So the garden could start like the garden wall could start here, maybe.
Yes.
And there could be turn off here, and then you go through that, and we would want the library to be such that a bridge could span from it to the obelisk.
Where in here is the bell going? Oh, right
Bell's
there
right here.
where it is.
Yeah, the bell is where the bell is. And in fact, we should probably move the other bell. Oh, okay. That's not supposed to happen. Oh, I see why that happened. It's in a tree.
Oh.
So we basically want to be like... I feel like we can get away with putting it here. I think that's well within margin of error.
Let's find out.
Right by the river, too, which is nice. Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Yep.
And I think We've earned ourselves a productivity break, where we take a break from productivity.
Good idea.
Like all great urban planners, I'd created a mood room, hung with images from which I could draw inspiration. Smooth jazz, Cash Money, the actor, Peter Bowles. And pretty soon, I was ready to start work. It's a lovely material to work with, big stone, because it bends. Architects could learn a lot from this simple system I've adopted. Oh.
Okay, we have finally moved our bell, and that means two things. One, it means I have to actually make a spot for the bell to go in the overworld, which I'm not going to do right now. And two, it means we can finally connect a high-speed rail line up to Moer, which is probably going to take longer than decorating the garden, but is quicker and more repetitive and easier to do while I'm multitasking, so I'm going to do that first. And the Moeri Superhighway ultimately turned out to be one of the last projects I did on Brennyn Sabar that month, because for some reason, right around the time I finished, I developed really bad carpal tunnel syndrome, and I'm not really sure what caused that, but I gotta tell you, it really put a damper on my placing 3,000 blocks of mud in 45 minutes. And sometime in the middle of all this, Zacticon and I returned to the mood room to sort of ponder the orb for a little while and see if we could come up with some upscale Tunisian-style furnishings for the governor's manor, whatever the hell that building is. So what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lot of beds built into the wall.
Yes. Huh. Well,
As a sort of theme here.
that's possible.
Wouldn't be impossible, certainly. Well, actually, I mean, admittedly, the difficult part would be where in the wall do we build it, because most of these walls are windows.
Yeah.
Fill in this whole wall back here, where the divider is. Build the bed into the wall, and then you see those two curtains on the side, right?
Yes.
Those lead into this part of the room through the curtains on the side. I guess the question is, because that feels small, and some of these pictures I'm seeing actually have the bed oriented like that. So you got that there. You got these alcoves with the curtains behind them, and you got curtains on the sides here. But for some reason, the bed has a transom.
Does, doesn't it?
Here's one option. This is actually not quite orange. It's actually yellow with two orange stacked on top of it, and some yellow stripes. So we also have this. That feels fairly upscale.
Yep.
We'd have to bring the ceiling in downstairs a little, obviously, but you can do that. Of course, that doesn't work. But that's there. I do kind of think we need more bookshelves.
We do. Gonna be
Actually, real quick.
a lot of them.
Yeah.
Very learned.
Of course.
Yes.
What if all this was another line of bookshelves? So you had to sort of squeeze in here.
Oh, that.
Yeah, just do another line right here.
Yeah. Singular candle back here.
Oh yeah, of course.
Just the one. Yeah.
Just enough to read by, you know. Welcome to the mood room.
This is definitely a mood room.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good old vending machine sushi. Ooh, might have gone a little bad. Well, I think it's probably about time that I face the facts and accept that my original stone storage solution is no longer acceptable to my advancing needs. So I think it's time that we bite the bullet and scale up and finally put our condenser cell to some actual use. So for those just joining us, the condenser cell is a block that stores up to 100,000 of a single item, as long as they're all identical. And you can feed into it with a hopper, you can feed out of it with a hopper, and I think I'm going to have it feed out into this barrel, just so that I have a backlog of stuff available in an inventory that I can just grab from at any time. I don't need to take it out one by one. And I do need to wait for the chest to fill up, though, so that it doesn't just pull all of those items back out of there. But that shouldn't be too terribly difficult, because I do have, you know, all of this. And we'll just throw it in there now, I think, if I can stop putting... It's fine, it's fine. So, there we go. And then that should just contain the other 100,000 stone as needed. Okay, so first things first, I have cleaned up the Equinox hub a little bit. My star shader broke a couple of versions ago, and they don't blink anymore, which is depressing. But it's obviously still not done. There's still some floating trees around that I didn't choose to get rid of because it's a tedious process, and I've gotten rid of every other tree in this hub. Does this not bother anyone else? Can no one else take care of just that, or that one that's kind of in the way of the... No, just me? Okay, good. Anyway, the superhighway is now in full effect. It's not decorated, but it does work. I want to get water along these, but the problem is that if there's no supporting block below a waterlogged stair, the water doesn't automatically fill in between, so I have to place every single block of water myself. Not block, bucket. Which is a little bit annoying, and I'm not entirely sure that I want to do that right now. And also I'd like to get some moss and some support struts, but the key point is that it works, and this will actually A, automatically launch you and refill the cart, and B, get you from the bird plate to Moer in a little under 30 seconds. I think it's like 27 seconds to 25 seconds, depending on when you start timing and whether or not you're on the inside or the outside track, because obviously this one on the outside is a little bit longer, because it's got a couple extra blocks to turn there. but by and large, it's pretty fast, and it's actually faster than flying in a lot of cases, which is good because I was sick of doing that. And that just drops you off right here. And now, if we hit this bell, I've been doing a little bit of work, and you're looking at a wall. That's fine. Here's the rest of it. Probably want to put something on that wall with that in mind, but here we go. I think this isn't bad. We've got the water feature over here. You can cross on this rock, and then there's the secret nook back here that gets you sort of halfway up into the wall. This needs to be filled in still, and of course there's the library that I have no idea how to progress on, but you know, that's the problem for later. You got this nook. I've set it up that you can't swim through here, so you kind of got to go through this part back behind the tall grass and the reeds. And over on this side, going over the water feature, you've got an actual bridge because there's an actual building over here, and not, you know, the nook that leads you to the potting shed. And if that's the potting shed, I don't know what this is. I think I've designated 5 different buildings in this garden as a potting shed. But we got the map over here, which I don't think I've updated since I put this in. The tuff is way darker on the map than it needs to be. I don't know, you know, let's just, you know, tuff, deep slate. Okay, you're noticing one is lighter than the other, and it's not the deep slate. It's the tuff, but for some reason the tuff is pitch black on the map, which is not great. I'd like it to be different, but you can't really change that in the game, because once you let that out of the bottle, people are going to put it on their maps and do map art with it, and then you change it, and then all their map art breaks. So they can't really go back and fix that without ruining 16 hours of work, because map art is a lot. So we're kind of just stuck with it, I guess. I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of it, because there's still this area back here, and this actually goes out potentially into the... No, this is still green zone. Everything behind this wall is actually yellow zone. It's some sort of weird Mobius strip. And it's actually, we're getting more yellow plants in the next patch, which is probably already out, given how much of a backlog I have. But and then this, I think, is still probably, possibly also still green zone, maybe yellow moving into orange. I don't know. That remains to be seen. But one thing at a time. We've got the Bell Garden in, which is good because that was a little too far away. Still kind of on the outskirts of the city, and sick of flying over there. Once we get a bridge in, maybe it will be a more viable location for something important, but not right now. I've also been bolstering the walls a little bit. I put these wood things on them to just sort of... It doesn't really do anything, but it makes the wall look a little bigger from above, which I think was needed. And also it adds a little more... It makes the city look a little more rickety, which I like. You know, it looks like part of it is propped up with planks. It's not... The infrastructure is not sound enough to hold up on its own anymore. So you've kind of got to prop it up if you're going to be walking around. Otherwise, this wall is liable to just topple over on you like Buster Keaton. And that's also sort of what I was doing here. Like, this is not a bridge. This is a tiny wooden plank across the stream. It could cave in on itself at any moment, but it's the only infrastructure that exists. Now, obviously, the building with the map in it does need to get a bit taller. I'm going to worry about that later. But I don't think it needs to get as tall as some of these buildings, because we may recall that these buildings towards the middle ring are sort of intended to be the most developed, because people were driven out of the middle and driven away from the edges and sort of concentrated in the central ring and just sort of started stacking up. And I have dealt with these guys 3 times today, and I don't know what they want. I don't feel like this roof in particular is the place to spawn, but that's just me. Hi, fellas. How's it going? Not great? That's too bad. You missed. Terrible. And Lucky gave us a lot of diamonds earlier that she found in an ancient city while we were working on the Kinkos, and I'm going to put those in here, and these are going to be my stock for making the trail fireworks. And I may have said this already, next Foundation patch, I'm planning on making firework stars duplicatable like banners and maps, because it's annoying trying to run a fireworks business when you have to input the recipe for the firework manually every single time. And this would greatly streamline my firework production process. And also, fireworks are ridiculously expensive if you want to do anything other than a small ball with a red and yellow star. So, you know, not having to use 64 diamonds to make 3 stacks of fireworks, I think would be nice. That's just me. Something I'm experimenting with in this version of Foundation is I've made it so that sniffers can dig up the eye blossoms from pale moss, because we don't really have a lot of pale garden on the server, and they're kind of tiny and hard to find, and that makes farming the eye blossoms kind of annoying, so we're going to see how this works. And the last major thing of consequence I've done in this version of Foundation is I have made Allays immune to the infested potion effect altogether, because that was broken, which means that this whole farm is now obsolete and will need to be reassessed, which I think is a good thing, because if we come down here, yeah, so I think this is probably a good thing. So I'm just gonna real quick, because also, like, you know, just like, they're ghosts. How are they getting infested with anything? They're non-corporeal. And same thing with the other mob you sort of use for that sort of farm is the armadillo. And yeah, I figure, how would an armadillo get infested? They eat bugs. There wouldn't be time for a bug to fall onto an armadillo, let alone fall off of it. So you know, I figured that made sense diegetically. So as I mentioned earlier, this is around the time that I took a little bit of a break, because I just placed 3,000 packed mud and another couple thousand rails, and my arm hurt. Shockingly, despite this, things kept happening. Hey, Duey, I think the oven needs to be cleaned.
Yeah.
You did it!
Yay! Of course, the first one to get caught, Steve.
What?
Saboteur! Duey made a flower farm that turned into a bone meal farm, that turned into a shulker farm, that turned into nothing. What really amuses me is that you've set up this entire thing that's making like thousands of shulker shells an hour, and you're just sitting there going, ah, yes, thousands of shulker shells. This will be perfect to store the bone meal so that I can stock my flower shop. Instead of just, thousands of shulker shells, I'll just sell these. And finish the canal, heavy quotation marks, circumnavigating the Birdplate Island.
Where are you? I'm coming to the Panama.
Oh, yeah.
Thingy.
Well, I'm at the, oh Lord, Zaxcon's not here. I need to chaperone filling out the paperwork. Hello, ma'am. Welcome to the Panamanian, Port Authority. Figured it out. Welcome to the Panamanian, but please put that back. I have one for you. Please fill out Form 859T Green. Oh, for God's sake. You just take this, don't sign it, and take it around to our secretarian over in the records office, and they will look it over and advise you further. Have a nice day. Shoot. Wrong sequence.
Which way?
Just out the boardwalk.
How do I...
Over to the records room.
This way.
How does Zacticon do this? Casey, move! This doesn't drop me off where I thought it did. Hello, ma'am. How may I help you today? Do you have a contract that needs to be signed? I'm a different person. Hello. Casey, can I have your disguise, please? Hello, it's me, a different person. Please hold. Union break. I gotta double check how we did this on the other one. No, don't follow me. Go back at the desk. Please wait at the desk. All right, ma'am. I've looked over your contract. Please sign this book. Where the hell did you go? Oh. Please sign this book, and it will be added to our records. Now, you have initialed this yes.
I think that's a legal way to initial.
There we go. another successful registration. Casey made a statue at the train station commemorating the triumph of the loop. That doesn't sound good. And then also just built the entire Bird Plate Town Hall in like a day, which is wild. We're still working on the interior, but, you know, still a lot. And I also added a new block to Foundation with, you know, again, heavy quotation marks, so it's not really a block. Seen these yet?
I've been meaning to look at those. That's cool, though. That's pretty fucking cool.
You have a piece of glass on you? You can also do this.
That's cool.
And now nobody can steal your stuff. Unless they do this. And you can also dye them if you want them to be a different color.
Ooh.
Let me show you why you're really going to like them. There. You remember when I told you to make sure that all of the held items on the railway statue were on separate armor stands? That's why. And you can dye these any color you want. But I'm probably going to call it there for the time being, because at time of recording, we're coming up on back-to-back-to-back, like April Fool's Day and Easter and the Season 6 one-year anniversary in the span of like 3 weeks, so I get the feeling the next month is going to be pretty event-heavy in a way that's not all going to fit into this episode. And frankly, I'd like to go into what is inevitably going to be just like a 3-day-long edit with just a clean slate. So it might be kind of short, I don't know, but I think I'm content to call it there, and we can pick back up those dangling plot threads later if I've left any. I haven't really been paying attention. You all can go now is the takeaway there. Be sure to subscribe to that like button and smash that bell and turn off push notifications, because you don't need them, and the modern expectation of constant availability with the advent of ubiquitous technology is incredibly hazardous to human sanity. So make sure you got your phone on mute, and I'll talk to you later. What? The motion that your head just made goes a long way towards explaining why your spine is visible through your neck. See, the joke is that I don't think I've ever heard a single stereotype about Peruvians. You all are just too far away. That's interesting. I've not heard that one, although that would admittedly be the kind of thought that comes from the social circle in which I do not engage. And also, just to be clear, as a form of cultural exchange, we Americans also do not ride cruise missiles to school either.